I welcome you once again to the series. For our reflection, we shall focus on the book of Genesis, chapter 35, from verse 16 to 20, which narrates the death of Rachel after childbirth. Before she gave her last breath, she named the son Benoni, which means son of sorrow. But Jacob changed it to Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. The theme is, the name is Benjamin. My aim is to use the story of the death of Rachel to point out what families should pay attention to when children lose their mothers. William Shakespeare says in Julius Caesar, "Death a necessary end, it will come when it will come." In a similar vein, the psalmist says, "What man can live and never see death?" Psalm 89, verse 48. Death comes at times all of a sudden. Other times, it does after prolonged sickness. Whichever way it chooses to come, the mystery of death remains as we experience pain, loss, and sorrow. Rachel, after carrying her baby in her womb for 9 months, little did she know that death was going to lay its icy hand on her. She died without having the opportunity to nurse her baby. Her child, too, never had the opportunity to have a relationship with his mother. The question is, how do families handle moments like this? The first point of emphasis is that loss of any kind is painful. But even more painful than the loss itself is when it remains unacknowledged, unmourned, and therefore unhealed. The belief is that any loss that is not properly mourned can cause a post-traumatic stress disorder. With this in mind, it is important that we find appropriate ways to mourn anytime death occurs. In this light, it must be appreciated that mourning the loss is not a sign of weakness, but rather a sincere acknowledgement of our humanity. Children like Benjamin must be helped to mourn their parents. The story is told of an adolescent who was a deviant in society. When counselors were brought in to help, it was revealed that his inability to mourn the mother he lost at the time of his birth was the aggravating factor for how he has turned out. Even though he never met the mother, according to the report, he yearned for a relationship with the mother. Anytime he saw other children with their mothers, he understood the concept of motherhood. He also understood that fate had robbed him of the opportunity to know his mother and to experience a fundamental relationship that almost every other child he knew had had the chance to experience. How he wished he could hear the mother's voice calling out his name. Being deprived of this opportunity to know his mother and the special bond between a mother and a child was a substantial loss, and as a result contributed largely to how he had turned out. Two things from the text which can be helpful. One is a change of name. Rachel, before her death, named the son Benoni, a name which reflected her situation of affliction, hence the meaning son of sorrow. However, Jacob changed the name to Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. Why the change of name? It is to change the situation of affliction or sorrow to hope. It is this hope that gives the prospect of success. For Jacob, while acknowledging the reality of sorrow, there is a need for one to remain hopeful about the future. It is this kind of optimism which must characterize the atmosphere that every grieving child lives. The name Benjamin exudes hope. How do we create this environment of hope? It is important to note that statements like, "Now you have to be the big boy or girl," "Don't cry, your family needs you to be the strong person," or "Remember, your mom is in heaven," can rather worsen the state of the child. For instance, the child may wonder about the statement, "Mom is in heaven." Why God would take the mother away from him? Is God not concerned about his welfare? Is God that wicked? We can therefore imagine the image the child may end up having of God as he contemplates upon the implications of the statement, "Your mom is in heaven." Creating an environment of hope means that we should allow the children to freely express their feelings, and we should validate how they feel. We should be slow to talk. We should rather allow them to lead us. What they need is a listening ear, an understanding heart. Statements that may be appropriate are, "It is hard to imagine someone we love has died." "I am so sorry your mother has died. I know you will miss her very much." When someone dies, it is okay to talk about how you feel. Speaking this way may help children appreciate that they are not alone in their grief, that people around them understand how they feel. To engender hope is also to remember that grief is a process, and for that matter, it takes time. Activities that can help take the minds of the children from sadness can be offered and will be helpful. 2, the burial place. The burial place for Rachel will help us appreciate how significant it is in the healing process. We are thrilled to discover that Jacob did not carry Rachel's body to the family tomb at Machpelah, but rather buried her in a territory that later on was assigned to Benjamin. The verses 19 and 20 say that Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a stone monument over Rachel's grave, and it can be seen there today. What does this tell us? Having the tomb on the property of Benjamin was to help him connect with the mother emotionally and psychologically. This brings about a special bond between a mother and a son. We must therefore help children mourn their mothers in ways that will help ease the pain of loss. Going to the graveside for them to express how they feel. Rituals like lighting a candle and later blowing them off may help bring closure to the loss. To conclude, death creates a vacuum. However, this can be managed when an atmosphere of hope is established. By sincere acknowledgement of loss, with patience, understanding, and empathy, we can help Benjamin to walk through his grief and grow to live by the meaning of the name. May God bless you.